And then is it even a Christmas ornament that can be classified as that? Is it festive enough to be classified as a festive ornament?
Before we get started with the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Global Training Center. As trade compliance professionals, you want to make sure that your procedures and documentation are completed as correctly as possible to avoid any delays and possible fines. We provide a range of trade compliance courses that will fit your needs. From in-person or web training to recorded on-demand courses, we can train one or even thousands on your team through your learning platform or on our portal. We can even customize a private session for your team. Go to globaltrainingcenter.com to find out more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SimplyTrade. Merry Christmas for those that celebrate Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah to those that are celebrating Hanukkah. And any other festivities that I might have missed, I apologize, but those two are within my immediate realm. We have very good friends that are Jewish, and of course, we're all celebrating Christmas here in my family. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Today, we have a show where I know it's after the fact, and I know it's it was a little too late anyway, even 2 months ago, because you were probably, if you're an importer, you were probably importing items for Christmas already way before this month in December, and way before. I mean, they were probably happening in late summer or summertime. So anyway, but we thought we'd make a fun show every year. We've tried to do something for Christmas. A couple years ago, we did Why is Santa a Smuggler? And then last year, we had another follow-up on defending and or justifying why Santa Claus is a smuggler, et cetera. You know, so this year, I thought we'd talk to one of our frequent guests, and we'll get into this in a little bit. But there's a couple reasons why I wanted to have her on the show. But so we thought we'd talk about Christmas items, festive items, holiday items, and their tariff classifications as to why it may benefit or not benefit you if you are classifying them as holiday items or festive items. I mean, the spectrum is wide open. It ranges big time, you know, from, you know, it could be any of the festive items like Halloween or Easter or Christmas, et cetera, or even, you know, other things that you may normally just consider it as a product that, excuse me, you may consider it as a product that is just an everyday product, but all of a sudden you change it into, say, a wedding or I don't know, whatever, you know, it might completely change the duties or the tariffs on it. So anyway, so we decided to go ahead and record a show on that just to see where it would take us. A lot of people call it tariff engineering. Sometimes you have no choice, even as much as you might want to engineer it. If you stick a emblem or an image of a Christmas tree or something, again, I don't know the rules too much, but there's no way around it. You may need to classify it as a festive item, et cetera. But anyway, so on our show today, we're going to have Bonnie Kersch, who all of you pretty much know already who've been listening to this show. She's been on our show multiple times. We've had her as part of our panel also on one of the ICPA conferences, recordings that we did earlier in 2024. But I'm really happy to have her for, again, number one, because she knows so much about trade and would set the record straight here. As you can see, I'm kind of stumbling through all of this. But anyway, I got really excited to have her on because she recently started her own firm. So she's now off on her own, and she's a consultant. And if anybody needs any help or trade advice or whatnot, she's out there now. So she's one of those people that I heard it on a show the other day, and I thought, it's kind of like Bonnie. I know a few people like that, but that person said she is the person who their competitors say in the morning, oh shit, she's up. You know what I mean? It's like, be careful.
Oh, that's so sweet, Lalo. Thank you.
We may need to, oh crap, she's up. You know, I might need to edit that. But anyway, I heard that and I thought, I know some people like that, you being one of them. It's true. Now you have to work harder to stay ahead of Bonnie. So anyway, so she did start her own firm, or it's not a firm. I'm sorry, she's not an attorney. Her own consulting company. Oh, I guess they're called firms too, a consulting firm. Anyway, it's Magnolia. Remind me.
Yeah, Magnolia Global Trade Solutions.
There you go. I was going to say Magnolia Trade. So Magnolia Global Trade Solutions. Perfect. So we have her doing that now. And she's also come back, per se. She's always been around with Global Training Center, but she's more involved in our training. So get ready to see a lot of training coming out from Bonnie. We're so excited about that. And maybe a little surprise halfway through the year, we'll maybe make that announcement depending on how it goes. We're trying to work on a very big project with her, but that's going to take some time. And I'm not going to say anything because if it doesn't happen, I don't want to. But anyway, it would be really good if we do get it done. So, but anyway, welcome, Bonnie. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your new chapter in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the new, company that I've started, Magnolia Global Trade Solutions. I have some good clients already looking for more, happy to help whoever needs it with really anything global trade compliance related. So yeah, appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. No, yeah. So we when we heard that you were doing that, the first thing my wife and I said, oh, when can we get her to start doing stuff for us?
Yeah, I appreciate the offer to do that. I'm really enjoying it. And, I've always enjoyed working with Global Training Center and with you, Lalo. And you have such good clients too. So, really, really happy to be able to provide some more training. I really enjoy teaching. I did it for over 20 years with Kaplan Test Prep, teaching mostly like LSAT, GRE, GMAT, ACT, SAT sort of stuff. So excited to kind of combine my love of teaching with global trade compliance and get to do both. So that's really exciting for me.
Well, yeah, again, Bonnie, we're so happy to have you back teaching more consistently than, whenever we got in trouble, we would say, hey, Bonnie, can you do this for us? And you would not in trouble, but in a bind, and you would come to the rescue and stuff. So anyway, but now it's more consistent. So thank you. So today, I pitched this idea to you about talking about festive items and everything. Of course, coming from Wayfair, you all had, you all import so much stuff. You import A to Z. I taking from maybe a competitor's model, but
still,
anyway,
lots of different items. Yeah, most people think of Wayfair and they just think of furniture, right? But man, gosh, we sell so much more than that. There's all kinds of Christmas decorations. A friend of mine just ordered a nativity set. Brad at Brawmiller, he just ordered a nativity set from Wayfair and he was showing it to me. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff on there. So did you know, I was, doing a little bit of research before coming on this podcast. Did you know that the United States imports more than 3 million real Christmas trees every year?
Real, like live, not live, but the cut
live,
trees. Yeah,
live trees. Like I thought that most of the imports were going to be artificial trees, right? And I'm sure they are. I'm sure we're importing a lot more artificial trees than real. But I looked it up, how many, because I was under the impression, knowing nothing really about Christmas trees, right? Like I thought most of the real trees that people bought were grown in the US.
Well, you would think so, because then they're fresher or whatever. But I guess they do that with flowers, right? You hear that stat on Valentine's and Mother's Day, how many flowers we bring in, like from Colombia and all. Yes.
And who knew, right? So yeah, I looked it up, and almost 3 million natural Christmas trees, most of them coming from Canada, which makes a lot of sense, right?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And they can just be trucked over the border, because I can't imagine like a whole cargo ship full of Christmas trees. I don't know. It seems like a lot. So, when you're trying to classify these, the country of origin for those would be easy, right? Like, where was the tree grown? I mean, you're not doing anything to the tree really, right? So I think that's easy enough. But then when you're classifying them, real trees and artificial trees are going to be classified differently. So that's something to keep in mind when you're going to classify. I mean, your artificial trees are going to be in 9505, which is the articles for Christmas festivities and so on. And it looks like they are, you just have to determine whether they're plastic or not. And that's easy enough to classify. But then real trees are in a completely different chapter. So that's something to keep in mind. And then Lalo, when we're thinking about, President Trump has now been elected. When this, podcast episode comes out, he wouldn't have been inaugurated yet, but he's been elected and he's already said that he's going to raise tariffs on items from Canada. So if most of our Christmas trees, our live Christmas trees, are coming from Canada, what are our Christmas tree prices going to look like next year, Lalo?
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine?
That concerns me a little bit, right?
Yes. Can you imagine that? If it happens, you're right, 25% tariff on that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Right. So I wonder what will happen next year. Like, are people going to switch to using more artificial trees? Like people in the past who may have gotten, went out and picked out their live tree every year with their family and put it up. Are they going to kind of have to make that switch because what's going to happen to the price,
Right. I know my son recently got engaged, and his fiance was a little upset that her mom decided to do an artificial tree this year. And so I think there's going to be a lot of upset people next year if this tariff does stay in.
Maybe so. I'll tell you, I do the artificial tree every year. I like it. I have the pre-lit and I have a really, really tall one. But yeah, I'm a little allergic to them, Lalo. So I didn't want to bring something I'm allergic to into my house for a month. That just doesn't seem like a good idea. But you do the artificial tree too?
Yeah, we have artificial because again, we like to get the really tall one. We have very high ceilings, and so it's like 10 to 12 feet, I think, something like that. After you put the star or the topper on it, and we were talking about this the other day, and we thought that my daughter was getting the sniffles and everything when she was little, when we used to have a real tree. So I thought that's why we switched, but who knows? I'm not going to pay $700 for a 12-foot tree either. So every year.
Every year, right? And it's not like at least with an artificial, we have a 12-foot tree because we have really tall ceilings. But at least yes, it was expensive in the beginning, right? When I purchased it, but I can use it every year. Unlike a real tree that you have to go get a new one every year. So do you put tinsel on your tree or no?
No, we just do like a garland that we've had since the kids were little, and it's like tradition. We just use that one.
That's nice.
It's very
so we
colorful.
Don't do tinsel either. But one thing to keep in mind with tinsel, if you're thinking about importing tinsel, Lalo, you have to also pay attention to some safety regulations and so on. I know this is outside of the realm of trade compliance a little bit, but there is some tinsel has lead content in it, which I didn't know. I mean, we're thinking of plastic tinsel, right? And that probably doesn't, but that's something to keep in mind too. But ornaments. My tree has mostly glass and plastic ornaments on it. What we have, we don't have all the kids ornaments on it anymore. They've kind of outgrown that, or we've stopped doing it. But, some of those ornaments can be a little tricky to classify because they're mixed materials. Even the little glass, when you think of an ornament, I always think of the glass ball with the little metal thing on the top, right? That you hang. So that's pretty easy because it's mostly glass, right? So you would classify it as an ornament of glass, which is in 950510, right? But then there's, under Christmas ornament in 950510, it asks you, is it glass, is it wood, or is it other? Well, Lalo, that becomes really tricky when you have an ornament that's glass and wood. Right? It's then you have to figure out what's the essential characteristic. Where does it belong? Is it mostly glass? Is it mostly wood? That's where this becomes a little bit tricky, And then is it even a Christmas ornament that can be classified as that? Is it festive enough to be classified as a festive ornament? I know that my kids, when they were little, we would let them each pick out an ornament from the store. And my daughter would pick out like a Hello Kitty little thing or like a Garfield or something like that, right? And it was really just a little like toy of Hello Kitty with a string on the top that you could use to hang it on the tree. Well, is that a festive article? Like Hello Kitty isn't Christmas related. It's just, a figure, a cartoon. So, I think that's where reading some customs rulings can really come in handy and help you determine, just because it has a little loop of string on the top so that you can hang it on a Christmas tree doesn't always make it a Christmas ornament able to be classified in 9505 and get duty-free treatment, right? So just be careful when you're classifying those Christmas ornaments to make sure that they really qualify as festive ornaments, as festive articles that can go there.
Right. And let me see. I'm trying to remember Ryan Bennett. I think that was his name. I don't know if you know him from. He attends some ICPA events and all that, and he was there this last one in the fall. But he's from. God, I'm trying to remember the company. He's based out of Seattle. But anyway, there was a big group of them. I think like 20 of them went to ICPA this year. But anyway, last year we had him on the show. And he had his ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah, I thought about wearing mine. Yeah.
Yes. So he had his ugly, but he made his own with the HTS classification of the.
I saw that on LinkedIn. I think he posted it or something. That's awesome.
Yeah, he posted it and he got so much reactions and everything.
It was so good. It was so good.
So it was. I really like that too. I like that he did he made it look like an ugly Christmas sweater with the HTS number, a bunch of, different decorations or images of like, I think it was like reindeer and trees or something like that. But I guess going in that a sweater, it can jump from one tariff. I mean, like even completely from one chapter to a different chapter based on if it's my regular red sweater, and if I throw Rudolph or Santa on it, it's going to jump to a different chapter. But so how is that going to affect? I guess that the duties are going to be affected too, right? I guess depending on the tariff number, the final tariff number.
Yeah, the duty will be affected. And then Lala, you know what I'm thinking of? My ugly Christmas sweater that I actually think is really cute, but whatever. It has little like T-Rexes on it, like little dinosaurs, and it lights up. So how did the lights change the tariff classification, right? That's something to think about too. But yeah, your duty rate can change. And depending on, how President Trump enacts those additional duties or whether he enacts them, right? Who knows what will happen? Yeah, you never know. Like, I realize that festive articles are currently duty free. So if you add 25%, like, is it still going to be duty free? Is it going to be 25% now? Like, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, those, you're right. Like things like that, ugly Christmas sweaters, depending on all the things it does. I've heard some like sing to you, like play a little song or something. They can get, yeah. So then at that point, it's like, well, is it still primarily a sweater when it lights up and plays a song, or is it classified somewhere else, right? That's something interesting to think about. And then toys, right? Biggest thing at Christmas time, gifts, right? And so toys, thinking about toys, where like figuring out the country of origin for those can be somewhat difficult because they're it's not like Santa's workshop where the toy is built entirely in one location, right? Typically you may have something happen in one location and then it moves to a different country for a different step of the processing. Then it might move to a final country for like, final assembly and packaging and stuff like that. So determining where substantial transformation took place along the line, can be difficult at times to figure out. So that's something important to keep in mind with those toys. And then, are there any anti-dumping or countervailing duties on anything Christmas related? Like that's something I don't know off the top of my head. I can't think of anything, but I'm sure there's some sort of case out there.
I'm sure there's got to be something like something that's very specific, that's green, I guess, like some green emerald or something that, I mean, I don't know, that is either protected or highly available here that you don't want anyone dumping those here in the US or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and then some people, I know that we're getting, my in-laws really need a new mattress, and so we're buying them a new mattress that they want for Christmas. There's definitely anti-dumping and countervailing duties on mattresses. So things that you may not, that aren't toys that you still may get as a gift, definitely something to keep in mind for those anti-dumping, duties for that. So
I've also heard or seen, for example, here at Global Training Center, we record a lot of stuff. We record obviously a lot of videos and stuff. And this is not really festive or anything, but the camera that we use, or the cameras that we've used in the past, I can geek out sometimes on some really silly stuff. So I'm like, I wonder if this, because they're most, I mean, like the one that we used to have came from Japan. In fact, the one we're using now also came from Japan. But I was reading up on, back then anyway, I don't know if this is still the rule or not, but I was reading up that if your camera, I mean, it could be used as a still image and also as a recording, video. But if you do happen to have video on it, and again, this was several years ago, and I hope I don't mess this one up, but I remember reading something about if it records more than, I think it was like 10 minutes or 30 minutes, it's considered like a whole different classification. Like
maybe a video recording device as opposed to like a camera.
Yeah, like the tariff really goes up. The duties, I'm sorry, really go up because it's considered like cinematic or something like that versus just a camera, like just a DSLR camera, like a still picture camera that happens to record video. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
All of a sudden,
it changes it to primarily a video recorder,
right?
As opposed to just a camera.
Yeah, something like that. It made it, the tariff was like, and so I always wondered, in the older version of my cameras that I had, I've always wondered, so it might have not changed, but I don't know, because the equipment we use now is actually more expensive than what we used to use before. But I've always wondered, like when we were recording courses, we had a timer, because at the 10-minute mark, you don't know, sometimes, you're not looking at a prompter or something, and the instructor's just rolling and rolling. And after, I think it was 10 minutes, and I may be wrong, it could have been 20 or 30 minutes. But anyway, we always had to do a cut, and then restart the camera, because it automatically just not shut down, but it automatically stopped recording. And I always wondered that.
Is that because of tariff avoidance?
Yeah. So that specific camera, I guess to keep it competitive or whatever, they said, well, you can't record more than 10 minutes. And there was, anyway, so I was just curious about that. And yeah. So anyway, so I guess the same thing with, like you said, like festive items and things like that. So, and yeah. Cool. Anything, I guess, other related on other items, or anything that or tariff implications that we need to worry about?
I'm thinking back to those live Christmas trees that come from Canada. Even if, future President Trump raises those tariffs, I wonder if those could qualify for USMCA, right? It seems like they would be able to, because they're wholly grown in Canada and then cut down in Canada, right? So it seems like you'd be able to qualify those. So, but, there's also some changes to USMCA coming, perhaps. And so I hope, for the sake of Christmas, I hope Christmas trees don't get carved out in that, and that we can still bring those in duty free. That'd be fantastic.
Well, there were some previously, I think it was actually during the first Trump administration, there was a lot of back and forth on lumber products coming in from Canada and Mexico, as a matter of fact. And I think that kind of got resolved during the Biden administration. I don't know. I don't remember very clearly. But anyway, so maybe, but then that's a good point, Bonnie, because in 2025, is that when it?
There's a review of USMCA.
2026. I'm sorry. That'll be 6 years. Every 6 years, the treaty has to be reenacted, I guess, or it's
like
not a treaty.
Renegotiated.
Yeah. That's it has to be renewed. But I guess they'll be doing that in 2025 so that it can be enacted in 2026, in July 1 of 2026. So You can't turn. It's like a big cargo ship. You can't turn that in. It's very. You got to do the same thing with treaties, or not. They're not treaties. I'm sorry, the free trade agreement as well. So you kind of have to start planning it a whole year in advance. So yeah, so we'll be hearing, I guess, a little bit about that as well. So that is a good point.
Definitely. And then, something else to think about when you're thinking about like toys, mattresses, whatever else, gifts that people are buying this time of year is forced labor, right? And so, is that occurring? And a lot of people, I don't want to name sites, but there are certain sites that people know are, kind of ripe for forced labor, right? People kind of generally know these certain companies are probably using it. For me, like, I have an ethical dilemma with that. And like, I'm not going to go order off of those sites because it's pretty well known that they're using forced labor, right? So it's like, how do you make that choice, or do you just say it's not really, like, I'm not the one employing forced labor, right? So it's cheap for me to go buy those things and I'm going to do it. But companies really need to, CBP is cracking down on that, and not just in US imports. Canada is going to be coming out with some new forced labor legislation relatively soon. Europe just came out with some additional forced labor legislation. So that's something to think about, and to make sure your company is complying with, right? But then, Lalo, I don't know about you, I really like Christmas movies. And my favorite Christmas movies are the Santa Claus ones with Tim Allen.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, where like Santa falls off of the roof, he puts on the suit, and now he's Santa Claus. I just love those movies. I think they're great. I know they're kind of old, but I love them. And, that makes me think about all of the elves in Santa's workshops. Are they forced labor? Like, are those elves up there being forced to make those toys?
Right.
I don't
They
know.
actually do seem pretty happy with being paid with hot chocolate and candy
canes. And,
yeah.
And they get to play with the reindeer.
Yeah. Plus, he actually gives them options, right? Well, one of the very, very classic movies, I think it was Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. One of the elves was studying to be a dentist. So you got options.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to be
an elf. Yeah, you don't have to be a toy maker.
A toy maker, yeah.
Yeah. Well, even in the Santa Claus movies, like Mrs. Claus teaches all of the little kids at the school, and then they have a doctor who delivers her baby. So I guess they do have a choice of what they want to, it's not forced labor. And they do get paid, you're right, in candy canes and hot chocolate. So, yeah. So maybe Santa's in the clear.
Yeah, I don't know how much more work they can get up there anyway. So as we saw Will Ferrell when he came down to New York and tried to adapt to normal society, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, there's too many pop culture references here, which is cool. I don't mind it at all. My favorites are Home Alone, actually. So, but my ultimate favorite, how would you classify that? Would that now today be the leg lamp? That's my favorite movie of all time, A Christmas Story. That is my ultimate favorite movie of Christmas. Yeah. So would that leg lamp now be Christmas?
That leg lamp, actually. But I don't, that's a good question. Would the leg lamp qualify as a festive article for Christmas? I would argue probably not.
I would say no, but
it's just a lamp, right? At the end of the day. And if someone had never seen that movie, would they think it's Christmas? I think not.
No, you're right. I agree with you. Yeah, but my kids did one year. My kids know I love that movie. They gave me an ornament of the leg lamp, and then the next year, the previous year, they gave me the one of the double dog dare where he sticks his tongue in the pole and it's. Yes. So I got those two ornaments so that my kids know that I really like that movie. So anyway.
I love that. Yeah. And I bet those ornaments aren't festive articles either, would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, I guess if they call them ornaments, maybe. But yeah, they could be just decorative items that you put in your curio cabinet, right?
Right. Or like a little plastic figurine or whatever, And then Germany, I don't know if you know this, but Germany has taken it even farther and said that only classic festive articles, like only classic Christmas things can be classified as festive articles. So for example, like the movie Frozen, a lot of people think of that as being like kind of Christmassy. And then you may have like an Olaf, the little snowman from the movie thing, wearing a Christmassy scarf, right? They wouldn't consider that a festive article. Even Rudolph isn't considered a festive article in Germany because he's not classic Christmas. So it would have to be like Father Christmas,
Right.
or
It's
like
not
a
Christian,
Christmas
I guess,
tree.
because in Germany, it's very Christian oriented, I guess. Like, I know they celebrate several days before Christmas, one or two different that we don't, as well as in Mexico. I know my mom and my grandma and my growing up, we used to have different Christmas related festivities that were related to the coming of Christ, right? And, the birth of Christ. And it wasn't Christmas, but it was like related to that. And it was always around that time. So to them, that was Christmas, right? As opposed to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And so did you exchange gifts during those like days
Yeah.
before
So there was
Christmas?
a tradition.
Okay.
And I know Anik, who works here with us, she's from Germany. But they've had this tradition where you put like your shoes out and they put a gift in the shoes. So same thing in Mexico. Yeah. So same thing in Mexico. They have that similar tradition, not necessarily exactly like that, but similar in and around Christmas time. I think the Mexican version of it is more like the three wise men, the three kings version.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're coming
Who, like,
around and
travel to go see the birth.
and they're giving gifts out or something. Anyway, whatever the case may be. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess would that customs district of that country consider that Christmas or not? I mean, festive
like,
or not?
Yeah. The shoes, like if it's like a specific, like a wooden shoe or something, right? Like that's traditionally used for that purpose of like Father Noel or whoever it is, right? To putting a gift in there, would that be considered? That's a good question.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So no, yeah, Germany, I know that they, I guess they're credited more because of the Christmas tree tradition many centuries ago or whatever. So I know a lot of things are very. That's interesting. I didn't know that you had to be very traditional Christmas for it to be classified. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the US, I think generally like Rudolph is considered to be festive. There are different characters that are seen as festive. But yeah, apparently in Germany, it's a lot harder to qualify for something to be a festive article. So.
And sometimes you want it to be, or sometimes you don't want it to be, depending on the tariff number. It
what's
lies
the duty
in,
rate?
Yeah, the duty
How hard
rate,
do I want to argue? Yeah.
Yep. So anything else on Bonnie? Any interesting, cool stuff that you might want to add here?
Interesting, cool stuff. I don't know. I think the important thing for importers around the holidays, in addition to the things that we already discussed, right, are timing. Timing is going to be super important because if you have, a shipment of Christmas trees, let's say they're artificial pre-lit Christmas trees, if they arrive, December 20th, that's not going to be helpful for your customers. You're probably not going to sell those, right? So, just people have planned months and months and months in advance. Like you said, people are probably, importing in the summer, preparing for Christmas. So just make sure, you get ahead of that and make sure all of your documents are in order. You have everything ready to go so that you can meet those delivery times, to your customers and get your products on the shelves, whatever the case may be. So I think pre-planning for Christmas, if you're listening to this podcast after Christmas 2024, it's not too early to start thinking about next year and how to get your goods in time.
I mean, as we all know, you can't engineer a product from one day to the next. You can think of the idea, but when you engineer it, you have to go through all the process and in many cases create the mold and everything. That's going to take months and months. So you might as well start thinking about it right now than when after it's done. And you're perfect. So anything interesting or on a business or personal level for you coming up in 2025? We know you have your exciting new venture coming up here with Magnolia, but anything that you're planning on? Are you still going to continue to go to the conferences? We're still going to see you out there? Uh-huh.
Oh, you'll definitely still see me at the conferences. I'm on the ICPA Canada Conference Planning Committee, so really enjoy that. So I'll definitely be in Canada. The annual conference, you'll see me there at Disney World. So hopefully we'll get to see some Mickey Mouse while we're there. So yeah, excited about that. But Lalo, the most exciting thing coming up is still this year. I'm turning 40, Lalo.
Oh my goodness. So that still in 2024. So you're a December baby. Uh-huh.
I am a December baby. My birthday is the 14th. So in like a week, I will turn 40. I have mixed feelings about that, Lalo. I'm getting more gray hairs, more wrinkles. Like, I realize 40 isn't old, but it's a milestone birthday. So it was one of the things that pushed me towards starting a new company, right? Because I feel like, I don't know if you do this, Lalo, but I feel like for every like landmark birthday that comes, right? Like 21, 30, 40, like, all the big ones. I usually kind of think, like, reflect on my life a little bit. Like, how did my 30s go? And is there anything that I wish would have gone better or different? Or how can I set myself up for the next decade of my life to be even better than the last one? Right? Like, what are some goals I want to accomplish in my 40s and that sort of thing? And I was like, I've always wanted to start my own global trade consulting company. And it was like, now the time is right. Like, I think coming on 40, like, I have a little bit more money in the bank than I did when I was 30, right? Because I've just, saved better and that sort of thing. Not that I'm rich by any stretch, but you know what I mean? I have a little more money to be able to do that. And then with President Trump getting reelected, he's great for trade, right? We know that. Like, he's going to bring business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's job security. So, that was one of the things. And so I'm also in this phase of life, Lalo, where my kids are leaving me. They're moving out. I have one in college already. I have one who's a senior in high school. So it's like this new phase of life also, where there's not kids around all the time. And while they still need me, mostly my money, but while they still need me for some things, they don't need me every day, And so, starting this company was something I've always really wanted to do. And now the time was right. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, my biggest thing is still in 2024, Lalo.
Right.
Turning
nice.
40.
Yeah. It's real interesting that you say that, because fun fact, I had a goal to start my own company by the age of 40. And that's how Global Training Center got started.
That's awesome. And did you do it? Did you start it before you turned 40?
It was right when I turned 40.
Yeah. So me too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same month I'm turning 40.
Yeah.
I started this business. Yeah.
No, yeah. So my wife and I were like, okay, let's do this. And yeah, how funny. So yeah, I've had it for 16 years. So yeah, so everybody knows I'm 56. So anyway, so yeah, that's, yeah, how funny that you say that. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's a good goal. And you're right, that right around that time, everything you said, ditto. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, the kids are being a little more independent, and I reached a point where, yeah, I may be able to be a little more financially independent by doing this. Not, again, there's no way I could retire at 40. There's no way I could retire now either, but it's easier than when you're 30. So yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Yeah. Well, we're excited. I know we are. And, I know, like I said earlier in the beginning of the show, I know there's a lot of competitors out there saying, "Oh my goodness, she's in the playing field now." Who invited her to the sandbox?
Well, hey, I'm excited to, partner with anyone. I'm excited to work with anyone. I really love training. I really love helping people. I hope that people find me approachable. At the end of the day, like, I don't want anything on my, headstone when I die to say she was great at global trade compliance, right? Like that's not what defines me. At the end of the day, like I hope people think that I'm kind and that that sort of thing. So, and that I'm like a good person, that's the kind of thing I want highlighted. So yeah, I hope that, people just feel like I'm approachable, can reach out to me, ask me any questions you have. And if we end up being able to do some business together, that's great. If not, that's okay too.
I like when we first met and you started doing work with us, you sent me your bio. I need to dig it out. That was so funny.
Thanks.
What did you call it? Something lover of cats? Did you say? So you had it on there or something?
I don't know. I don't remember that, but I am. Oh, something about a cat repellent keyboard or something. I don't recall.
Yeah, no, it was funny.
It's still on my LinkedIn page if anyone wants to go read it.
And it was not, and like you said, you didn't necessarily talk about trade as defining you, but everything else. Which, yeah, y'all look it up if she has it on her LinkedIn. It was silly and funny. I liked it.
Yeah. I think, I also like coach a swim team and, volunteer at schools teaching little kids about like entrepreneurship and economics. And, I like to sing Gangsta's Paradise at karaoke, like there's fun stuff too. I'm in a bowling league. Lalo, do you like to bowl?
No, I don't bowl.
You don't bowl. Okay. Well,
yeah,
maybe someday.
I'll throw a bowling ball every once in a while, especially around Christmas when all the family's in and we go and just have fun at the bowling alley. But yeah, that's about it. That's the stretch of. I'm trying to do pickleball, but not yet.
Yeah, my son, I played one time with him and he beat me every single game. So I need to either practice or, play with someone else. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, everyone, we'll have Bonnie's contact information on the show notes. And also, we'll tag her on any of the LinkedIn posts and everything. So reach out to her. And she is right about when she says she likes to collaborate. I know of other groups that I know you're collaborating with aside from Global Training Center, like, for example, Braumiller and their group. And I know you're very open to doing that because not everybody knows everything. Sometimes you need to collaborate between different expertise levels on different people. And so that's a good way to help your customer. And that's the way we feel anyway. So
yeah. And you know what? I love classifying chemicals and pharmaceuticals, and nobody else seems to want to do that. So even if you just want to send me some chemical classification work that you don't want to do, feel free to do that. I'd be happy to. It would make my day.
And that's definitely true. That's what when I say we run into emergency situations, we'll ask you about that. But anyway, thank you so much, Bonnie. And you have a great Christmas and a great year, and embrace your 40s.
Thanks. I will.
I know you're gonna really rock this. So I have no doubt. So, but anyway, thank you all for joining us. I hope you all had a good Christmas and have a good New Year coming up. And looking forward to having more of these episodes and keep everybody informed and just be more compliant. I guess the year of compliance, let's make that next year. This is going to be challenging. It's going to be a moving target with, like Bonnie said, with Trump coming in. So, just be vigilant and get some help like Bonnie. So anyway, thank you all and have a good one. Thank you very much for joining us. SimplyTrade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show or would like to sponsor SimplyTrade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com or you can DM us on Twitter at SimplyTradePod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. SimplyTrade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by SimplyTrade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.